ticky-tacky every morning. I didn't told you you're a crazy person, right? But here we are. And from that, we have made a host of new friends. And James and Leanna are here from It's Feral But Sober. And they, and they brought a host of friends with them. Melanie's here, I'm not going to say her screen name. And Mary and Chrissy and Renee's around here somewhere. And these connections that come from social media, right, are so outstanding. And so I can't wait for you guys to hear from James and Leanna. And so first up, we're going to have James Barr. He's going to come up, and we're talking about unmanageability, but we're going to talk about whatever they want to talk about. So God bless.
Well, first of all, I want to say, Fred, where are you at? Hey, thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your share. What a story. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the recognition. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for the invite. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Freedom Fest. Thank you all for being here.
Hey!
Unmanageability. So, my message to you guys isn't directly with unmanageability in the moment. It's more of like the aftermath and what can happen. So I'm going to give you a little bit about myself, and then I'm going to deliver a message of hope before Leanna, our awesome creator, comes up here and speaks to you. So, there was a time in my life when I didn't think I would live long enough to stand before you. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how to. If you've ever been in a bad way from that point, this message is for you. So good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Before we begin, I want to tell you who I am, not because my story is special, because it proves what is possible. My name is James, and 6 months ago, I walked out of prison again. But my most recent recovery journey didn't start 6 months ago. It started well over 5 years ago. For more than 25 years, addiction shaped and plagued my life. It shaped my choices. It shaped my relationships. It shaped my thinking. I lived on the edges of morality, responsibility, and of humanity. I hurt people who loved me. And I broke trust that didn't deserve to be broken. And more than once, my life ended up behind bars because of it. But 5 years ago, something happened. While I was incarcerated, I stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And I started asking, what is happening inside of me? And I began to look honestly at my thinking, my behaviors, at the beliefs that kept leading me back to drugs. Inside those walls, I found something I never expected, a higher power, which I choose to call love. Not a slogan, not a debate, but a presence that held me accountable while also offering grace. I addressed my traumas, those deep-seated stories that I sat quietly crying in the corner, and that I had buried for decades. I learned how pain has shaped my survival strategies. And slowly, I became somebody who carried them. I became a peer supporter. Not because I had the answers, but because I finally learned how to listen. Listen to your stories. And along the way, I was influenced and met people who lived integrity out loud, such as Hall of Famer Michael Singletary. Norm Mulder, the founder of Tapuka, which stands for the only person who cheat is you, about changing your habits and starting a new way. And Alex Sheen, the founder of Because I Said I Would, that stand behind the promises we make to people and to ourselves. It's those people who showed me that accountability and service and follow through can rebuild life. Then on July 1st of last year, in 2025, I was released again. Yes. Yes. And unknowing what was going to happen in my life, I walked into my family's arms again. The same family that I had hurt for decades. The same family who had every reason to give up on me. But they didn't. They carried hope when I could not. And they believed I could be a better version of myself, even when my past argued otherwise. And then I met someone who changed my life in a different way. I met Leanne. The creator of Barbie. She didn't ask me to be perfect. She didn't ask me to sanitize my story. She welcomed me with compassion, honesty, and a steady, loving voice. Together, Leanna and I share a deep passion for helping people see the best versions of themselves, supported by the community. And we agreed on something powerful, that sometimes community lives next door. But sometimes it comes from people far away who understand your heart better than anybody else ever could. That's who I am, and that's where I come from. And now, before we go any further, I want us to listen. Before the noise, before the movement, and before the momentum. I want us to arrive, I want us to be present. Because recovery teaches us something most of the world forgets, that sometimes the most important voices are the quiet ones. Some of the strongest people are the ones who aren't speaking yet. Some of the deepest pain lives in silence. Some of the bravest fights are happening behind still faces and quiet breathing. So before we speak, let's listen. Let's listen for the person who is here but doesn't feel seen. Let's listen for the person who came even though it took everything they had. And let's listen for the parts of ourselves that survived quietly. And let's remember those who cannot be here. Some are still suffering. Some are still using. Some are still incarcerated. Some are still trapped in fear and shame and exhaustion. Some are still fighting for their lives. And if you're willing, I invite you to join me in just a moment of silence. Not to fix, not to rush, but to simply honor that person who still suffers. The person we love. The person we used to be. Let us just take a moment right now together and recognize them. Thank you. If you're here today, it means you survived something that tried to break you. And not all survival is loud. Not all survival looks heroic. Some survival looks simply like enduring. Some survival looks like staying when leaving would be so much easier. And if you're here, it means you survived something that almost took freedom. Some of you survived addiction. Some of you survived overdose. Some of you survived incarceration. Some of you survived grief, abandonment, loss, and abuse. Some of you survived the nights where you never cared if you ever woke up again. And some of you survived yourselves. There was a version of you that lived in the ground, worn down, tired, exhausted, convinced that standing back up wasn't possible anymore. A version of you that learned how to brace instead of hope. A version of you thought, is this as good as it gets? But you're here, you're breathing, you're listening, and still standing. I'm proud of you. And that matters more than you know. Because recovery is not measured by perfection, it is measured by presence. Recovery begins long before sobriety. It begins the moment someone decides, even quietly, I just can't live like this anymore. For some of us, that moment was dramatic. For some of us, it was barely a whisper. A bathroom floor. A jail cell on a bathroom floor, a hospital bed, a funeral, maybe a mirror you could no longer avoid. Recovery doesn't always begin with strength. It begins with honesty. And honesty requires tenderness. It requires us to admit that we were hurt, that we were overwhelmed, and that we were just trying to survive with the tools that we had. Most of us didn't start using because we were reckless. We started using because we were human, because something inside of us was burning or breaking or begging for relief. We used because it worked, until it didn't. Until the thing that numbed the pain became the source of it. Until the escape became the cage. And here's the truth we don't say enough. There were people who lost hope in us. But something inside us refused to die. Even when we were exhausted, even when we were ashamed, and even when we didn't believe we deserved another chance, something inside us kept breathing. Yes. And if you're early in recovery or standing on shaky ground, please hear this with grace. You are not behind. You are not weak. And you're not failing because this shit's hard. Nothing about freedom has ever been easy. Recovery is not about becoming somebody else. It's about being reborn into the person you were always meant to be. But rebirth requires some fire, and fire burns away what can no longer stay. Fire destroys what once was false. Fire does hurt, but it also clears the way. Early recovery feels like walking through these ashes. Everything familiar is gone. Your old identity no longer exists. Your coping doesn't work. And fear asks, what if I don't survive this? But this is where rising begins. Some days, rising looks like strength. Some days, it just looks like getting out of bed. And some days, it looks like listening instead of reacting. Some days, it looks like sitting quietly and choosing not to return to what once consumed you. Every day you choose to recover, you rise, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Because freedom is not proven by never failing. Freedom is proven by standing back up again and again and again. So sobriety is not the finish line. Sobriety is the spark. Recovery is the rebirth. Like the phoenix, we do not rise despite of the fire, we rise because of it. What tried to destroy us becomes the ground from which we stand taller. Getting sober means you stopped running. Recovery means you faced the flames and decided they would not be the end of your story. It asks for honesty, because lies keep us buried. It asks for connection, because isolation keeps us cold. It asks for humility, because pride keeps us trapped. True freedom is not the absence of adversity. It is the ability to stand without being consumed. And here's where history reminds us what is possible. Charleston, South Carolina, the grounds from which we sit and stand and share today, is a city that has known bondage and resistance. In 1739, the Stone Oak Rebellion, one of the largest slave uprisings in colonial America, erupted just outside of Charleston. Men and women risked everything to fight for their freedom, for their lives, for the possibility of a world that had been denied to them. They rose together through fire and danger, even when the odds seemed impossible. And that same courage, that same refusal to stay down lives in us today, in each and every one of you. Through recovery, we rise in our own rebellions, not against others, but against the change inside of ourselves. The shame, the fear, the obsessing, looping nuisance of thinking that tells us we are not enough. Recovery is through connection, through love, through tenderness, through listening to each other in our silence. Through connection, we bring unity. Through connection, we bring peace. And through connection, we bring the knowledge that we don't have to face our battles alone. Addiction isolates. Recovery unites. Addiction says, stay small. Recovery says, rise together. Freedom Fest is not just an event, it is reclaimed ground. It is living proof that through connection, love, and support, we can rebuild ourselves. Recovering out loud is an act of rebirth. It means we stop shrinking. It means we stop apologizing for surviving. It means we stand in truth, even when our voice shakes. Because let me be clear. Let me be clear that someone is watching. Somebody is listening. And someone is waiting for proof that rising is real. And we don't need flawless stories. We need risen people. I burned, I broke, I stood back up, and I rose. And now let me challenge you, lovingly but boldly. Freedom is not meant to be hidden. If you've been reborn, you are meant to live upright. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to lead the multitudes or the crowds. But you have to stand. Stand in grace, stand in truth, and stand with others when they are still finding their feet. Unity is how rising becomes contagious. And connection is how freedom becomes real. So look around. Look at everybody. Look around the space. You are not surrounded by broken people. You are surrounded by survivors, by rebuilders, by people who rose from fire. And together we rise. Together we stand stronger. And together we become visible proof that recovery works. Through connection, we bring love, peace, and a new sense of being into this world. And now this is how we finish with fire. When you leave here today, don't collapse back into who you were. Stand taller, speak braver, and live freer. Carry your recovery into the rooms that still feel dark. Carry your freedom into the places that have forgotten hope. Recover out loud, not for attention, but for transformation. Because someone is listening in silence. Someone is watching from the ashes. Someone is waiting to see that proof of rebirth is real. Let them see you rise. Let them hear your strength. Let it begin with us, and let it begin now. And let it begin here. And that brings me to something extraordinary. Because recovery today doesn't only happen in rooms and in buildings. It happens in conversations. It happens through connection. And it happens through platforms that never existed before.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok. TikTok. When used with intention, has become a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Not a trend. Not a performance. But a place where people show up for each other. The feral but sober community lives by simple but radical values. We speak from the I. We respect every faith or no faith. Every pathway, every program. If your goal is wellness, you belong. It doesn't matter. We're going to love you. We lift each other up. We take charge when needed, and we respect our boundaries. We encourage recovering out loud. We honor the uniqueness of every story. We allow space for pain because pain shared is pain softened. And we hold hope because hope multiplies when witnessed. This platform has helped people enter into recovery, stay in recovery, and return to recovery. And tonight, today, there are 10 of us who are here from all over the country, from Texas, Iowa, Ohio, Kentucky, Massachusetts. People who met on the screens. Now standing together in real life. People who have never met before or renting an Airbnb 1,000 miles from home because connection became family. Virtual became reality. Strangers became support. And recovery became shared. That is not accidental. That is what happens when people choose love, unity, and peace over judgment. And that is why this moment matters, because next you'll hear from somebody who embodies all of this. Someone who didn't build just a platform, she built a home. Someone who believes recovery doesn't require perfection, just honesty. Someone who reminds us that being feral doesn't mean being lost. It means being free. It is my honor to welcome the woman who welcomed me, my friend, my partner in this work, the creator of Feral But Sober. Thank you so much, Freedom Fest, and thank you for choosing to recover out loud, Leanna Cox.
Okay, guys, I don't know how you follow that. I do not have the words like he does, but
You got this.
all right. Thank you, Charleston. thank you, Neverland Recovery. Thank you for giving us this.
You're a lot shorter than him.
Okay. Thank you, Charleston, and thank you, Neverland Recovery. Thank you for giving us this opportunity and for being here to listen. Our topic today is unmanageability. So I'm going to tell you about a time in my life that it was unmanageable and how I got where I am today, standing here in this room in front of all of you, celebrating recovery and celebrating each other. My life started out much different. I was born into a household with 2 addict parents. Drug use was very normalized. Started smoking weed at just 9 years old. I didn't even realize that everyone's parents weren't openly smoking and snorting coke off the table until I was like 13. By that time, I'd already been using hard drugs for a whole year. Drugs and the disease of addiction ruled my life for 14 years. I didn't think that I would ever quit. I didn't think anything would ever stop me. I was entitled to use. How dare you or anyone else suggest that I quit? In 2013, I found out I was pregnant, something I didn't even think was possible. I moved away to protect the child born inside of me, but the life I lived caught up to me, as it sometimes does, and I was arrested. So in early 2014, I had my daughter shackled to a bed in prison. Holding that baby in my arms, I knew that I had to do better. I swore she would never live the life that I did. I didn't have anyone to care for her, so she went to a foster home while I went back to prison. It was a gut-wrenching few months, but when I came home, I got custody back in just 2 months. So I stayed clean for a while, but in mid-2015 I had a relapse, and I was the lowest point of my life. I had so much shame and guilt that I just went full throttle, stealing, scamming, whatever I had to get by, living in a tent in an abandoned house. But then it got worse. One day I woke up downtown Cincinnati, homeless with a toddler. It's like waking from a daze. I laid there, watching my child in peaceful sleep on a hard concrete floor. I thought, what the fuck am I doing? That day, I walked to the methadone clinic, and I vowed from then on to give her the life that she deserved. While I was fighting for my recovery, I was also fighting for my life. We stayed another year in a toxic relationship with a guy that wouldn't stay clean, physical and mental abuse in front of my daughter. Deep down, I knew it wasn't right. I knew we deserved better, but I was terrified to leave. The only place I had to go was home, where active use was still happening openly. Finally, the last straw. An incident, I was knocked unconscious. My toddler tried to defend me with a frying pan. I woke up, full of blood with a busted nose, her crying on top of me. And all I could think that one day she would be crying on top of me and I wouldn't wake up. Or worse, she would think this behavior is unacceptable. So we left, and hesitantly, I did go home. I was there less than a week, and God removed me from that situation. He knew that it would be. I still can't explain the warrant that caused my arrest, but while I was sitting in jail, I decided that I had to get away from the madness. I moved to Kentucky, buried myself in work, eventually getting married and having 2 more kids, but I had no recovery, no maintenance. My mental started slipping, my self-care went out the window. But while I was driving to work every day, I listened to this show. I kept relating and thinking about all the ways that I could turn it into like a recovery podcast. Talked to my husband about it. With his encouragement, I plan to launch the Feral but Sober podcast on August 9th of 2025. On August 1st, I wrecked and rolled a car with all 3 of my children inside. I truly believe that was an act of God, giving me time to focus on the recovery world and our mission. Because I couldn't afford to take any unpaid time off. But the doctor wrote me off for several months, so I decided that I was going to put them to good use. I launched the podcast as planned on August 9th, which eventually led me to James and the Dope Fiend. Both would have a huge impact on my life. When I met James, I knew right away that he was someone I could depend on. He stepped up several times to guest for me when people canceled on my podcast. We got to know each other and became friends along the way. While I was doing the podcast, I got a taste of helping people, and I couldn't get enough. I became peer support certified. I have my education via RID PSS, and I'm working towards my CADC. That still wasn't enough for me, so I asked James if he'd be interested in starting a TikTok live group. He agreed, and the Feral but Sober platform was born in December. We began with 1 live, a single hour a day. And then the dopest fiend is an author of recovery literature and it changed my life. He was present, helping bring the platform alive, always ready to share passages from his book to give hope and inspiration. Passages that were so uplifting and encouraging, I knew that I couldn't keep them to myself. So that's how I started the second live, sharing book with the world and discussing how we could all relate. From there, I've committed to 2 more lives a day, as well as 2 podcast episodes a week, a weekly women's group on Zoom, and we have a men's group in progress. Some of you may be thinking, wow, that's a lot, maybe even that's too much. We've had people come on though and thank us for always being there so they can pop in throughout their day if they're struggling. And I've been blessed with such an amazing community and such a full heart. What we have didn't come from a plan, a grant, or a perfectly organized vision board. It came from people showing up, messy, tired, sometimes broken, but hopeful nonetheless. We are more than faces on a screen. James and I keep our numbers in our profile and we connect with so many people off the screen. Such a blessing to watch these people grow. We have a woman, schizophrenic, with some other mental health issues. She comes on every day. Now, not only does she come on screen and share, she's helping them run their lives and become part of our plans to expand. There's sometimes when I can't be present or responsive in our meetings, and 4 times a day, that's a lot. We have members in our community who we trust to host and moderate, just start the room and kind of let them know I'm busy. They jump into action, directing conversation, responding to shares, and rotating boxes. There's someone on our platform who planned to end their life on New Year's Eve. They had it all laid out, but shortly before then, they found our group. So at our New Year's party, a little virtual party, they revealed to us that we saved their life. We literally saved their life. I get messages in my inbox all the time telling me how my platform has helped or inspired people in some way. I had someone reach out when I announced that I had these shirts for sale. I've seen them in my room for weeks, but they never came on screen, not once. But they wrote in that message that they're just shy, but our group has changed their life and they wanted to be a part of that. They wanted a t-shirt. We've seen people come in so shy that they won't even share but just a few words. Now they take the stage and unload it all. The bond that we share is so special that a lot of us got together to come here to Freedom Fest. A friend started a donation pool because I couldn't have gotten here on my own. Thanks to the generosity of others, we were able to get bus tickets for some of us that couldn't afford it. Some of us carpooled here from all over the country. Those of us that could chipped in for the Airbnb so we could share space and break bread and remind ourselves that we are not alone. And that matters. That matters, especially in a world that keeps telling us, people like us, to isolate, behave, qualify, or disappear. We truly took the virtual and made it a reality. You see, I don't like a traditional program, but want all my own. This doesn't set me above anyone else, nor do I recommend my path. It's not for everyone. But I believe that it puts me in a unique position to meet people where they're at, without judgment, without rules or principles that I'm obligated to enforce today. I stand here, a married mom of 3 with a dream. I want a space where everyone is accepted and respected, no matter how much or how little time you have in recovery. Whether you're sober, curious, or decades in, on mat, Cali sober, practicing harm reduction, complete abstinence, or still figuring it out. Whether you have a higher power or don't believe it all. Work a program, reject programs, or just trying to survive today, you are welcome here. Our family is made up of people in recovery, clinicians, family members of addicts, and people whose addictions do not fit neatly in a checkbox. People who struggle with substance use, behaviors, trauma, and real life. But we have exactly one rule. Everyone will be respected. We do not always agree, and that's okay. We stick to the I statements. We share our own experiences, beliefs, values, and opinions individually. We do not tell other people how to live their life. I'm not the leader of this community. I'm but a small part of it. We're working on expanding and growing, sharing our message of love and all inclusivity to as many people as we can. I literally could not be standing here today without all the people that I have around me. Sometimes at our social hour, we just sit on screen. Some of us crochet, some of us check emails, some of us do filter faces and goof off. At first I thought this was silly, and I said so. But a core member said, we're just here in case someone's struggling. It broke my eyes. I didn't get it. 30 minutes later, God hugged me. A friend popped in, full manic episode. She's pacing, she's hyperventilating, without anyone being told what to do. 4 people jumped into action, calm voices, coaching, box breathing, and other coping strategies. 45 minutes later, when that person left us, they were present. regulated, and safe. That same night, someone else came through struggling. We got them through that as well. Now, this doesn't happen every night. Sometimes we hang out, just in case, bonding on a deeper level. I come on screen just as I am. I'm definitely not always camera ready, but recovery is not always picture perfect. And what I've learned is that being readily available in the moment when people are struggling and need help is crucial. So that's what we do. We show up every day. We show up when we don't feel good, when the kids are getting wild, when we just don't want to. We show up and we lift each other up. There can be drama in some platforms, but not in our space. Everyone is safe and each person is respected. People who wouldn't normally stick together come on screen, comment on each other's shares, and offer words of encouragement. We do have a lot of crosstalk. Sometimes we stay live for hours just so that everyone can share what's on their heart. It's informal. It's a little chaotic, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Because of that chaos, for the first time in my life, I have real friends and real purpose. Of course, being a mom and a wife gives me purpose, but this is something that I do just for me, and somehow I help other people along the way. But I couldn't do it alone. I couldn't do it without every one person that comes into my room, everyone who hits like, share, or follow. I couldn't do it with people without Neverland Recovery and Sober Barbie, who see through the mess and the chaos and see how special that our message is, and believe in that message and support it. But especially, I couldn't do it with the ones that show up and help every day when I'm busy or frazzled. I couldn't do it without my feral fam.
Yeah.
Woo! So, if you can get behind this mission to help everyone, then follow us on social media. I keep a growing resource list when people join our family that have connections or resources. People that are counselors, peer supporters, caseworkers, lobbyists, or just people who are strong in their recovery, willing to open their inbox to someone struggling. I'm all in on this journey. Stepped away from my career. I've handed this whole thing over to my higher power. I do not have a perfect roadmap. I do not fully know how to grow or where this leads, but I have faith. Faith in my dream, faith in love, faith in my higher power, faith that when the intention is right, the path will unfold. I have big plans, but I'm still trying to figure out how to take the next steps. My dream is to build a resource hub or a website for people who need all kinds of help so that no one feels alone no matter where they are. Because recovery is not about perfection, it's about presence wrapped in progress. And nobody gets free alone. Love, patience, and tolerance are the code here. But above all three is love. So if you believe in love, if you believe in inclusivity, if you believe that people deserve support without condition, follow us, share us, support us in whatever way that you can. But most importantly, become part of the feral family.
So good.
Wow! Thank you, James and Leanne. I'm telling you, how awesome was that? And we used to be friends. But they tried making me cry. And James almost got me. He almost got me, and nobody wants that. I'm an ugly crier. But thank you guys so much for being here, for sharing with us, for doing what you do, for providing the platform that you provide. Feral but Sober, make sure you go check it out on TikTok, on the FB, on the YT, on the wherever you go in social media.
Podcasts.
They're everywhere. And Leanna does a podcast multiple times a week. It's everywhere, because she just wants to spread this message of love and joy and peace.